It's time for Bringing the Heat with Trey Lyle.
Welcome on into Bring the Heat with Trey Lyle. Trey Lyle back in the saddle this week. And sorry about little scheduling conflict last week. Had an emergency I had to attend to, so Caleb filled in for me. Appreciate that. Bye, Caleb. But a great conversation we're going to have going into the Inferno this week. Dalton Hopkins a few weeks ago, actually around July 4th, had a great conversation with Charles Denike, the crew chief for 2311 and the 23 team, obviously winners at Indianapolis, but talk to him. Obviously, Dalton being a man who currently serves in the U.S. Army, talking to Charles about his service in the Army. They connected on that, and it was a great conversation, and we had some time this week to fit it in our schedule, so we're going to play it now as Charles Denike, crew chief for the 23 team, heads into the Inferno.
Now, it's time for
race-winning crew chief Charles Denike. Did I get that right? Was the winning crew chief in today's Brickyard 400. Charles
to go into the Inferno with Trey.
So I guess my first question is, what year, what route did you go? I know there's multiple routes that an officer can go.
Yep. So I did ROTC in college. I went to University of Virginia from 1999 to 2003. I graduated in 2003. Mm-hmm. I did Army ROTC all 4 years, commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Corps of Engineers in 2003, and then was in for 9 years up through 2012.
So did you have to go, how long did you guys have to go to Fort Knox back then?
No, we did not go to Fort Knox, went to Fort Lewis.
Oh, but you did the summer training though.
Yeah.
What is it, that summer training?
Yeah, that was between my third and fourth year. And then after my second year, between my second and third year, I went to airborne school, which was a lot of fun, obviously. And then, so when I commissioned 2003, later that year, I went to Fort Leonard Wood for the Engineer Officer Basic course. I did that through the winter into the beginning of 2024 or 2004. And then I went to Sapper School, which was a common engineer selective school, and then I was able to be selected to go to the Army Dive School, which is joint with the Navy Dive School in Panama City, Florida. It was purely a good timing for an officer to be able to go do that, because there's very specific, every 18 months or every 2 years that they need to select a few, and I just happened to be in the right class that was eligible to try out. So I did that. So that carried me, June of 2004, I started dive school. We finished in November of 2004. Mm-hmm. Somewhere around there, December, November. Really, really incredible experience. So then I went to Hawaii. I was the executive officer of the 7th Engineer Dive Detachment from 2005 through 2006 at Fort Shafter, Hawaii.
So you did complete dive school?
Yep.
I'm sure you've heard all the things about it.
Yeah, well,
people have said it's like the hardest school.
I've heard about it, but I was there.
Right, but I'm sure people have said to you, that's the hardest school in the Army. A lot of people have also said, oh yeah, well, it's actually air assault, but
yeah,
I don't know about that.
So I never went to air assault school. I would have wanted to, and I wanted to. So when I went to Hawaii, I thought maybe I would have a chance, but then they stopped doing the school in Hawaii at that time. So I just never had a chance to be able to go, but that would have been pretty neat. But yeah, it was challenging, but it also is very long. Mm-hmm. So you can't sustain yourself at off the charts hard for 6 months straight, right? So you get into a routine of it, and it's very technical. There was way more classroom technical type of things and applications than there was what makes TV that is these guys are just getting smoked for hours on a day, and because you live it for 5 or 6 months, you get kind of numb to the level of difficulty of the strenuous physical activity. Mm-hmm. It becomes kind of normal. So I would say at some point, physical training, and it was fun. It was, these guys are some of the best, just like all the other schools that are at that level, and with all the men and women that were in that class, they could all do the stuff. So it was just impressive to be around them all at the time, and really neat time in my young career, and neat to be able to go do it in Hawaii. And then after I finished my time in Hawaii as the executive officer of that detachment, I spent some time as a plans officer on an engineer battalion in Hawaii at Schofield Barracks. Then I went to the engineer captain's career course in 2007 at Fort Leonard Wood, and went on to be a company commander of the Army Dive Company at Fort Eustis, Virginia, in end of 2007, December 2007 to December 2009. So there were 5 detachments there, and just was able to continue doing that. And then that's kind of the end of the road for a dive officer in the Army, is just as a company grade officer, as a captain. So my next duty assignment was the brigade engineer for the 7th Sustainment Brigade at Fort Eustis, and I did a full follow-on tour doing that as a captain, and promoted to a major while I was there. We went to Haiti after the earthquake in 2010 for Operation Unified Response, and then in 2011 went to Afghanistan for a year with them, and they were responsible for the logistics in the southern half of Afghanistan. So we were stationed at Kandahar Airfield. Also both of those really good experiences in life. And then once that was over, I was at a decision point on whether I was going to stay in, obviously, for 20 plus years or not. You don't decide to leave at year 15, right?
I know the feeling.
Yeah. And I had to go to school again, which was going to incur a multi-year commitment. So it was either stay in or go. So that's really why that particular timeline at 9 years became it, because I was up for going to another school that I needed to commit to or not.
So University of Virginia, I'm going to rewind a little bit, because believe me, I definitely want to go back into the schools.
Yep.
That's going to be, that's still super interesting that you went to dive school, but I'll get back to that. The University of Virginia, was engineer your first pick?
Yes.
It was.
Yes.
So back then, I know right now they have it on an OML point-based system.
Yep.
Did they have that with you guys?
I don't remember exactly. That was a long time ago. I don't remember exactly. But yes, there was some point system. Yes, there was a selection. Yes, I had to. I had to make my list. I think my second choice, was.
Ask what your top 3 was.
I think it was military intelligence, branch detail infantry.
Yep. Okay.
Couldn't tell you what my third one is. I don't remember.
Okay. So you wanted to be a part of the combat arms teams.
Yes.
Got you. So what made you want to be a combat engineer? That particular part of the choice isn't really a choice as an engineer officer at that time. Okay.
You can try to steer your career as it progresses to different assignments and make requests like, maybe I want to be on the civil engineer side, so I want to try to go to a construction battalion, or I want to be a combat engineer, so I'm going to try to go to a combat engineer battalion, or geospatial.
Got you. But either way, at the moment, it's all under the engineer umbrella.
That's right.
Okay.
And as an engineer officer, you all start the same. You declare Corps of Engineers. That's step 1. You go to engineer officer basic course, and then as that goes along, you're requesting your first duty assignment, and you still don't know necessarily what battalion you're going to get assigned to and what company, but you can start to influence a little bit. But I would say it's probably not until past company grade that you really can, try to steer the rest of your career. Most captains would, they would say company commander first priority, choice of unit second priority.
So why engineer?
I just kind of grew up in that kind of direction. I felt like, I grew up in a kind of a working with my hands-on type of environment. I don't remember exactly like when in my childhood I would have been influenced on them, but science, technology, the STEM type of items were always of most interest to me. So it just seemed like a natural.
I'm assuming during Bullock, it's at Leonard Wood, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming during Bullock. First off, how long is that?
4 months or so.
Okay.
I think. So I went later. So I actually went back and worked at University of Virginia for a few months during the summer, because I chose like a October, November start date. So I think we finished in April, I believe, because my sapper school class was in May. I remember I was off Memorial Day weekend, or like I had graduated and then I was off for like a week after that, and then I went to Panama City to start like the 1st of June. So something like November to April, so 5 months or so.
They ever have you guys work any demolitions while out there?
Yeah. So that's a core competency of
Gotcha.
Any combat engineer training and officer training, like, because you don't know exactly where the engineer officer path is going to take you through your basic course and your captain's career course. You end up getting experience in all the different types of topics, so we did some things on breaching, some stuff on explosives, some things on road construction, for example, just all of the different topics. And then sapper school is explosives heavy, breaching heavy, because that's certainly a core competency of being a sapper and being a combat engineer. And then one of the main things for being an Army diver was also explosives, clearance, port clearance, underwater explosives, above water explosives. So the above water explosives is the same as any of the combat engineer side. The Army diver piece brings the underwater explosives capability to the Army that wouldn't otherwise exist, other than maybe a little bit on the Ranger side.
So I would be remiss if I didn't ask. I'm pretty sure somebody would probably kick me in the butt if I didn't ask you. What was your favorite thing you got to blow up? We imploded a barracks building on Kwajalein Atoll. Imploded?
Yeah, imploded with a controlled implosion, using dynamite in all the columns to make the building just fall flat, because we didn't have enough radius of a protective seclusion zone on that island, so we had to use some alternative methods. So it on the Army side, it provides a training opportunity, right? But you normally try to take your training opportunities and do something real world useful at the same time, so the two come together. So that was really neat. That was in 2006, summer of 2006. So I would say that was the neatest explosive thing. I mean, we blew up a lot of stuff, but that one I remember pretty well.
That one you remember vividly.
Yeah.
So I know today, I don't know if it was the same back then, but infantry officers, brand new second lieutenants in the infantry goes, they have to go to Ranger school. I mean, it's pretty much, they just need to.
Yep.
Is it the same for engineers with sapper?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah, it's expected.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what it is like today. Obviously, this was 23 years ago.
Yeah,
years ago. But yes. Now, see, then at that time, you had a tab, but it wasn't authorized to wear. It became authorized to wear in 2004 sometime, which was cool. It was like not 6 months after I went. But I remember that was a big topic when we went to school. Was we were going to get this tab authorized to wear. Like I remember being told that. It was cool to see it.
So can you explain to me what is sapper school? What are the phases of it?
So some people will associate some of the things sound similar to Ranger school. I never went to Ranger school. perhaps I would have or could have if I hadn't gone to dive school, but I prioritized the dive school opportunity over it, and I didn't have any timeline that would have permitted me to go to Ranger school, so I never pursued it. But some of the topics are all very similar. It's more condensed. It's one little less than 1 month instead of 60 days, which is what Ranger school is. So you have some classroom phases. So I remember how they actually put it, but that there's some fundamentals phase, some classroom. There's mountaineering, the explosive training. There's patrolling phase at the end, where you're out in the field for 10 days and you're applying everything that you've learned, in real time through patrolling phases, and you're graded and evaluated on it. And each one of those major milestones, you have to be a go on to not recycle or to move on to the next one. So the point of the Sapper Leader course was to make better young leaders in the combat engineer field. So the priorities were like corporals and above on the leadership side, sergeants, staff sergeants, lieutenants, predominantly captains. The platoon level type of leadership. And also, what was neat, I don't know exactly the timeline prior to when I went. So then we need candidates available, on this day, which means they have to graduate Sapper school this day, which means they have to be, so you back your way up. And it was like there's 2 officer basic courses, that were happening at the same time, graduating whatever 1 month apart from each other, that were eligible for this. So then it's presented through like the course management. Here's an opportunity if you want to go try out. So then you sign up to try out. And there's maybe 20 of us or so. Yeah. And then there's a process. What was at the time the diver physical fitness test, kind of like the Army physical fitness test with swimming. They were a little different. There's pull-ups. The run was a little bit different. But, think of the old school physical fitness test plus add swimming on top of it. Some other things, some interviews, some academic stuff. So that group of approximately 20 got narrowed down to 3 that were selected. And those 3, at that point were kind of hand-walked through the timeline of everything that had to happen. And then we got joined together on the same timeline when we started Sapper school, and then we went to dive school together at the same time, obviously.
So what you said that you signed up to go do that, and then you were selected out of those 20 people that signed up for it. What made you sign up for dive school? What seemed appealing to you?
I liked the idea of the challenge of it, and a more selective career path instead of being 1 in a few thousand lieutenants. It was 1 in 3. So that kind of was appealing, and I knew that I would get some really neat opportunities, and I knew I could have a little bit more control over the first 4 years of my career on where I would go and what I'd be able to do. I grew up scuba diving as well, so like the idea of diving I already knew I liked. So the chance to be able to do it in the Army seemed really appealing, and just knowing that it was a challenging path that I was choosing, and see how far you could push things.
So what I was saying it earlier that a lot of people say that dive school is the toughest school in the Army. Why is that? What was probably the most challenging part about that course?
I imagine that there's some other extremely difficult schools, and it'd be hard pressed for me to think that Army/Navy dive school is harder than SEAL training, for example, right? But it's all relevant to the stuff that you're working on. And I would just say the sustained level of strenuous activity and both physical and mental for 5 or 6 months is difficult. But I think that's why you see the the selection criteria to get to go is very difficult, because by that point there's so much invested in these candidates that it needs to succeed. So then the graduation rate hopefully is good, not poor. We want to select before we ever get there, and that's what I remember. I mean, there were also multiple nationalities represented, which was really neat, and all branches of service too, including Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Marines. Like, everybody is involved in some level. And a lot of people don't realize that the Army has divers. I mean, you'd think that it's more of a Navy thing, but they can work together and do the same roles, and they do work together regularly, but also relevant to their own branch. They bring different capabilities to that particular branch. So, deployed environment or a wartime environment and things, the Army divers are doing things different than the Navy divers, and it takes both branches of service to accomplish everything.
I've seen and heard some stories about the course, and I think one of the things that sticks out to me was, I understand there is a part where you have to land nav underwater at night. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the night part. Maybe it was night. But it's really not any different, to be honest with you, because you can't see that well
right.
Anyway. So like day and night is about the same.
Okay.
Sometimes night is easier because you have less distractions.
Okay.
And I think some of the stuff you see on TV about the course is the scuba phase centric. Like people talk about the week long of hit week that you have in the water. So that is a module that is the scuba phase, which is the same thing as if you went to just the scuba school portion, which is an Army and Navy school that people can go to, just like airborne school, for example. And that part is a 3-week phase. I think it's 3 weeks. And everybody that's in the diving officer program, like you have to, or in the like the 2 Charlie enlisted side of things, as the beginning part of becoming a military diver, like you have to graduate from the scuba phase to go to the hard hat phase.
Right.
So, from what you're kind of hinting at, the most difficult, strenuous physical activity part would have been the scuba phase, I would say, and that's kind of what attracts the most attention. There's on the pool, which they have a really fancy aquatic training facility now. They had a really nice one when I was there. They've built another one since, many years ago. But there's glass viewing windows on the side of the pool,
really?
Right? So you can come see what we're going through, and you spend hours and hours swimming in the water. And I think the official term is problem solving.
Yeah,
underwater,
as a lot of it is.
Yeah, but just like any other school, what's important to note is you get taught and trained exactly how to do the task, and then you get graded on doing the task. So if you follow the steps, if you follow the training, they all your tools are there that you need to be successful. It's just a matter of being able to to control everything and manage the not panic, not
right.
Stay calm.
They do like to tie the hose around your back or whatever.
Yeah,
they do that.
Yeah. It's challenging. Some
right.
of it's they try to rip your equipment off, and you have to put the stuff all back together, and it's pretty neat.
Do you have a specific, kind of like the Sapper School? Do you have like a specific core memory from that course?
The end of it. So we did the diving officer course, and then you do the salvage officer course afterwards, which is like another 1-month follow-on module. And I thought that was a lot of fun. There's like a salvage barge that was at the training center there that you could sink it and raise it, and sink it and raise it, and apply all your patches and your pumps and everything. And that was really fun to be able to go through that and learn how to apply a lot of the salvage side of things.
So afterward, you said that you went to Haiti and Afghanistan. what? First off, it was 2011, correct?
Haiti was 2010.
Okay, but Afghanistan was 2011.
Afghanistan was 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long after that did you retire? You retired as a captain.
Well, I didn't retire.
Oh, okay.
I separated it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Because I was in for 9 years. So I was a major. I separated as a major.
Okay.
I got promoted to major the early part of 2011. So I was a major while I was in Afghanistan, and I came back February 2012, and then I separated in July 2012.
And finally, I understand there's a bit of a gap between then and now, but how does one, I'm assuming you went back to school, but how does one go from combat engineer officer to NASCAR crew chief?
So I didn't go back to school, but while I was, when I was in Fort Leonard Wood for the engineer captain's career course, I started my master's degree.
There it is.
Yeah, so I started in 2007, and which was a normal process for a captain in the military at that time. And then I did one class a semester remote, through the next couple of years. So I finished that actually. I did my last class while I was in Afghanistan. I finished in 2011 and got my master's degree in engineering management from the University of Missouri in Rolla. Or I think it was called the Missouri University of Science and Technology. And so I had grown up next to a racing family, which is how I got involved in racing. Worked on late model stock cars with the family next door. I did that while I was in college. I did that while I was still in the Army. So when I decided to get out of the Army is when I decided I wanted to pursue a professional career in racing as opposed to continuing my full career in the military to retirement. So in 2012, I separated from the military and went to work for a NASCAR K&N Pro Series team at the time, which was my first venture into professional racing and the start of this part of my career.
Were you always a racing fan?
So I don't know that I was ever like a fan that turned into going to work on race cars. I grew up as a child next to a family that raced.
Gotcha.
So from that moment, it was, that just was like the cool thing to do, so I would come home from school, I'd do homework, I'd go next door and hang out in the garage, and go to the track some. So I'd say it started more that side than like a NASCAR fan that then said, hey, I want to go figure out how to work in racing. We were talking, I was 11 years old when I moved. So that's through all of my childhood, growing up into high school years and things, I was around it.
Well, sir, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I can hear the cars, and I know drivers are walking around, so I think you got to get to work.
Thanks so much to Dalton. Thanks so much to Charles Denike. Thanks so much to 2311 for that conversation. Now let's bring in Caleb Barnes for What's Still Hot.
What's Still Hot? It's time to upgrade you on the latest news in NASCAR.
Joining me now at Caleb Barnes _ Caleb Barnes joins me here. And Caleb, hope you're doing well. And there's really only one big headline coming off of this week, and it is Connor Zilisch. Obviously, he falls out of the car, or kind of trips in the car, whatever you want to call it, as he's celebrating. And it was a scary, scary fall. It turns out that he broke his collarbone, which, if you watch the video back, is probably best case scenario considering everything that went on outside of
absolutely
being hurt. But once you saw the fence position, which clearly showed he was like out cold, only broken collarbone, seems to be the appropriate call. He had surgery this week. Timetable still to be determined, but he talked about how his teammate SVG had a similar thing where he came back the week later. Obviously, they're off this weekend. They head to Daytona next. Would you agree with this assertion? If I said he is more likely to be back at Portland in 3 weeks over Daytona, I feel like that's where we might see Connor Zilisch once again missing an Xfinity Series race due to injury. But it probably would be Daytona just to stay on the safe side.
Well, maybe, but I feel like Daytona actually provides the most opportunity to get a pretty cheap pit stop and substitute. Obviously there is the danger factor of if there is a big crash early or something like that. But Daytona, more than any place, is a place that I would think someone who is injured could, say, hop into the car and nurse it for a stage or nurse it until that first caution, and then just kind of ride around, and then under caution hop out and let someone else hop in the car. And that way you still get your points, you still get the credit for starting the race and everything. And because I know Connor's in the heat of this regular season battle with Justin Allgaier, and so I almost feel like I know people are like, oh, there's no way Connor Zilich races at Daytona, but I think we could see him start the race and still get the credit for that and pull one of those mid-race maneuvers to switch out, because Daytona is fast, Daytona is dangerous, but it provides that opportunity to take the first third of the race and ride half throttle around in the back and not lose a lap. And you're really not even like track position really doesn't matter a ton at Daytona in the Xfinity Series. So I think that could be a potential solution, but I guess we probably won't see until next week. And then, I mean, I do look at the rest of the tracks. I don't know how quickly Connor will be able to recover or get to a spot where he feels like he can drive as good as he is on road courses. Like I feel like Portland still might be kind of difficult if you're using the wheel to turn and everything. You're using all those muscles up in that collarbone area. And then think about like Bristol a few weeks later is just a ton of G-forces and things like that. So I don't know what they'll do with Connor, and obviously with just the insane amount of talent that he's had. I know they want to protect him and use him for the Cup Series, but at the same time, I don't know if they'll look at doing something like Denny Hamlin did a few years ago, where Denny was just kind of hanging on until the end of the season. Like, I don't know how badly they want Connor to go out and compete for the Xfinity Series championship. I'm sure he wants to compete, and I'm sure Junior Motorsports wants him to, but there's a lot more people that go into these decisions. And so it's really, I could see this going a bunch of different ways, but just as you mentioned, Daytona, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts that race and hops out, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he just misses it completely.
Yeah, and another part of this is NASCAR talked about they're not going to change their celebration policy, I guess, in terms of limiting post-race celebrations. Obviously, feels like that's also just the right call. Even though this was a scary incident, this was just a freak accident where he probably just needs to be a little bit more careful next time. Maybe place the window net in the right position in terms of inside the car versus outside the car. But NASCAR kind of not overreacting to something where it was just kind of a freak thing that happened.
Yeah. I mean, I've always wondered that though, like, because you see, I feel like it's just pretty commonplace for people to open their window net. And now I need to go back and look at some of these victory lane photos and see how many of the drivers had the window net on the outside of the car versus the inside. Because I've seen that before where the window net's sitting on the outside of the car. And I've thought to myself, like, man, that like cloth on the side of the car, like, it's got to be slippery. How come nobody slips and falls out? And then that happened, and it was obviously a scary incident. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a unique thing to happen. I think a lot of people, I mean, it went viral pretty much. So a lot of people have seen it and are more aware. And I'm sure, obviously, you don't want to injure yourself, but you also don't want to make the same mistake and get blasted all over media channels around the world. So yeah, I mean, glad NASCAR didn't feel like they had to step in and make a new rule or anything here.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like NASCAR was making, didn't overstep his skis and poor Connor Zilich. He was getting flamed by his own dad on Twitter, and the video was circulating everywhere online and was on, I believe, most of the news shows. I think CBS, at least it was on the Today Show. CBS Morning talked about it. It was on SportsCenter. So Connor Zilich getting some headlines for the wrong reasons.
His nurse armband in the hospital.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that one.
Fall risk. Yes, it was. He was a fall risk. He was on deep. He was a good sport about it on Door Bumper Clear this week. But a guy who's facing a lot of pressure and is hoping to make the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs is Ryan Preece. He's now our focus now for the soundbite of the week.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little. I'm gonna bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And short track race.
It's time for the sound bites of the week.
Derek did a great job on strategy. that last pit stop didn't go to where we needed it to. So details, man. Details are what it takes. And when you're in this position, Chris isn't going to screw up. He's not somebody that's just going to make a mistake. So ultimately, we got to go to Richmond and we got to win or we got to qualify well, get a bunch of stage points and win, or damn near come close to it. So that's what it's going to take.
So, interesting stat about Ryan Preece over the last couple of races, and NASCAR Insights had this. So they did a stat on like who's scored the most points in the last couple of races, and it's kind of insane. Over the last 10 races, Ryan Preece is 5th at 295 points. You would think that's really, really good. He's doing well. It shows his ability. He's run well lately. The problem for Ryan Preece is there were 3 guys that he was competing for the last playoff spot with. It was Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, and Chris Buescher. And you ready for this? Bubba Wallace wins in Indianapolis. He gets out of the paint. He clinches himself. Do you want to guess that are the 2 people right ahead of him on the most points scored in the last 10 races are?
I have to guess Chris Buescher and Alex Bowman.
That is correct. Chris Buescher at 321, Alex Bowman at 310. Chase Briscoe first, by the way, on this list at 332. Chase Elliott second at 328. Caleb, you look at this and it's like it shows the consistency that Ryan Preece has brought to the racetrack over these last 10 races, and we can see it. But it's kind of insane how I don't want to say it's bad luck because these guys are just performing well, but it appears the cards are not breaking his way, and we're now at a point where do you think the playoff bubble is basically anyone below it right now needs to win in order to get into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a bad strategy to hope luck falls your way in Daytona because that's just a horrible. There's a very low chance of like everybody you need crashing out in front and you staying in it and earning enough points to be able to make it. And I mean, I think he'll be like Preece would be good again at Richmond, but you know who else I think is going to be good at Richmond? Chris Buescher and Alex Bowman. I'm sure they're going to be up there as well.
Both who have won there. Both who have won there.
Yeah, and so I like it. It's not. It's a different sort of like must win. Like it's not like one of these in the back of the pack where like they just have to cross their fingers and hope they pull a Harrison Burton at Daytona. Like the 60 car and RFK Racing, they've had speed to be competitive, and it's maybe not like necessarily like a weekly thing, but it's like they've shown up here and there and shown that ability. And Iowa, a track that's pretty similar to Richmond, I think, is one of those places where they were very competitive. And so I think it just is. It's a really tough thing. I feel like that's kind of been the story of Ryan Preece's career. Is he's been very good at what he does, but like there's always like just a few people that are just doing slightly a little bit better than he is, and kind of taking that spotlight away. And I mean, like he said, he said Chris isn't going to make any mistakes, and the same goes for Alex Bowman. Like, so Ryan knows that he needs to go out and execute, and some of that frustration too came from the team part of the team not executing up to what he was hoping that they would be able to in order to either close that gap or try to take that last spot.
Yeah, I feel for Ryan Preece because he's having his best career year. And I think both RFK as a whole has just made leaps and bounds from the start of the season. And, you know, I think Brad has performed well of late. And I think obviously Chris and Ryan are doing really well. And I think I don't want to say playing with house money, but if he makes the playoffs, it kind of reinforces this idea that RFK did, picking him to be their third driver this season. So it's definitely going to be tough times. Now, I would not be shocked if he wins at Richmond. I would not be shocked if he wins at Daytona these next 2 weeks. I think he's a good short track racer. Obviously, Richmond being I would assume he might be in the modified race on Thursday. I would have to look that up to see, but he is good there. I think he's really good at obviously Daytona and the play style track. If his all four wheels can stay on the racetrack for the entire of the race, he's good at the plate races if four wheels can stay on. So we'll see. But I will say this: even if he doesn't make the playoffs, I think Ryan Priest it deserves a lot of credit for how good he's been this season, and it also brings up the point of like the 17th, 18th guy who's going to miss the playoffs. Just shows how deep the Cup Series field is now, because we're talking about the crazy to think about. We're actually talking about 12th in points in general points, which is kind of the weird part of this format, which may or may not be a part of my topic with the checkered flag.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line. Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag.
The checkered flag is out, and it's time for the final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Anything you want to rant, rave, or review about Caleb Barnes? The floor is yours.
Oh man, there's a lot of things. I filled in for Dalton Hopkins on Thinking Out Loud this past weekend, and that's such a tough call on the right, especially after a race like Watkins Glen, because like the further removed we are from the race, the more I'm like, oh, I could have hit on this topic and I could have hit on that topic, because there's so many different opinions about the road courses and about the car and about the tracks we're going to and the fixes and things like that. And I just, I think that there's so many voices out there. And I really think the NASCAR kind of voices outside, because inside the sport, there's a quote from Elton Sawyer where on SiriusXM, he said after the race, he said, I think we've got a product that is good, but as we said last week, we're always looking to make our product better. And like racing, it's not supposed to be easy to pass people, but like this is more than just not passing. Like there's no ability to pass. They're running the same lap time. They can't get close to one another. They can't do anything with their race cars to actually race. It's just a parade week after week. And I think we as the NASCAR fans and people need to unite on one issue. And I believe, in my humble heart of opinion, that the issue is the car. That if we can find a good racy car or get back to a good racy car, then I think so many of these things that fans complain about, that, oh, there's too many road courses on the schedule, or I saw another, oh, the number placement is horrible, or the playoffs, the championship format, this or that. Like, I think if the product on a week-to-week basis is good and entertaining, I think that there's a lot less concerns about where NASCAR is racing or what sponsors are coming in and out of the sport or what TV channel it's on, because fans don't tune into F1 for the point system or the championship battle. Fans tune in because they like the drivers and they like the race cars. The race cars go fast, and even if we sometimes make fun of it for a lack of passing in Formula One, fans like the race cars. And if NASCAR fans aren't on board with the race car, then I don't know how else you get them to tune in, because it's a week-to-week basis. If people aren't like, oh, well, like going to a Richmond race, and people are like, oh, well, the next-gen car is horrible on short tracks, I don't know that I want to go watch this race necessarily. Like, it comes down to the car, how fast it is, how cool it is, and just how entertaining that product is. And I feel like that's the one unifying message that hopefully, if anyone out there in NASCAR is listening, like, please, let's get the ball rolling on a car that's going to resonate with fans, both like existing fans, but maybe fans who have turned away or who have stopped watching racing, or just casual car people who like to watch race cars go fast. And again, that's the heart of my hearts. I believe that the car needs a drastic change. And like, I'm not talking about on this platform. I'm talking about like, let's start over, or let's just take the Xfinity car, something that's going to allow these drivers to really race, have fun, and for the fans to enjoy watching it as well.
Woo, you scorching.
My rant.
That was a take. There it is. All right. So I was just, I think I was in the car. Sometimes you drive alone and you just like have thoughts that come in your head. I was like, man, we're still, and the playoff format was brought up, and this is, I haven't done the show in a week. So, and I was like, oh my God, we're really debating a playoff format, but also theoretically, if you want to talk about wins battering, in this theoretical world, the Daytona 500 means just as much as winning I'm going to use the Iowa race or the race this past weekend at Watkins Glen. Like, no offense to those tracks. It's not the Daytona 500. So, in this hypothetical world, if we're going to use this format, which I don't fully agree with, I'm okay with the winning in. I think you just do the 10 playoff races, like the chase, but you can keep the winning in. I think it's the perfect balance of kind of what you want. I also do think, because it would incentivize you take your 4 crown jewels, because they're all in your regular season, which is the Daytona 500, Coke 600, the Brickyard. Actually, the Southern 500 is in the playoffs. It's the first race of the playoffs. Still.
Well, I guess Labor Day, maybe it does.
Oh, Labor Day weekend it will be. But whatever. That's fine. It can be in the playoffs. I think a win should be double points and double playoff points. So they're all 10. Instead of 5, you get 10. Because it should mean more than just saying you won a crown jewel race. Like, it needs to mean more. Like, I like the fact when IndyCar made the Indy 500 double points. Because it should be. It's the biggest race. It should mean more than all the others. So I propose, mine's short and sweet, that the crown jewel events are worth double points for the win, double playoff points. So, for example, William Byron would have gotten 10 playoff points for winning the Daytona 500. Ross Chastain would have got 10 playoff points from winning the Coke 600, and Bubba Wallace would have got 10 points for winning the Brickyard 400, which also would be insane to think about, because that would be the only win. It's the only win for Ross and Bubba, so that'd be even bigger. I'm just saying.
I'm vibing with that idea. Or if you just, double points to the field too. That's good. I like that.
Too. It should be like the SEC. It just means more.
Just means more.
So, all right. That will do it for this episode of Bring the Heat. Caleb, anything you want to plug before we get on out of here? Check out Stock Car Scoop.
Yeah, that was gonna be my plug, was checking out Stock Car Scoop Saturday night after the race this weekend. So
in the
if you're
804,
still up
shout
and
out.
you can't sleep, yeah, the 804 back home in Virginia. So racing perfection, as the slogan used to be. I remember those days.
Track.
Yeah, that's all I have going on this week is a stock car scoop, and I don't know if I'll be filling in on the lawsuit article or not, but I've been seeing some more updates, and we will have a lawsuit article update to continue kind of filling everybody in on what's been happening with that case as we progress towards the trial date in December.
Well, there we go. Lawsuits, races at Richmond. If you missed happy hour this week, check it out. Tommy Joe Martin's joined the guys, so check that out as well. Also want to plug Wyatt Watson. Well, through the gears this week, he's on the mend. He is healthy. He was sick earlier this week, so he's back to do Through the Gears, get you betting tips ahead of the Cup Series race at Richmond. Next week we'll be back. Another great guest lined up. We'll tease that because I don't want to confirm it yet because it might not happen. And so I'll leave it at that. But for Caleb Barnes, at Caleb Barnes _, you can follow me at Trey Lyle VT on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you follow us. Thanks for checking out this episode of Bring the Heat.